right, and welcome back from the break. And tell you what, we are definitely here to make sure that we keep you up to speed and updated with what is happening across the business world. Well, with this particular segment, we do start up with our weather forecast, the weather update from the different regions of the country, and also checking out how it is faring across the continent for you to understand and read the business perspective of how you can run your business with the weather updates. Now, let's take a look at what is happening with the weather this very day. And with that, when you look at the weather forecast from Smart Means Business, from today's forecast for Kampala, morning we shall have 24 degrees Celsius in terms of the temperature. Afternoon will go up to 27 degrees. Evening 23 degrees before it takes over to 21 degrees overnight. So we do not expect any showers as of today. It is some cloudy weather in the evening.
So it is highlighting that we will be experiencing a normal evening as always, like a very moderate temperature around evening hours.
And when you look at the humidity, it will be at 90%. That is the weather for Kampala today. Then looking at the wind, we'll be moving at 5 kilometers per hour. So that means we won't expect strong winds in whatsoever today. And the moon phase we expect a new moon phase, as the visibility will be at around 11.27 kilometers. That's for Kampala. So for those of you that are in Kampala, and most of those that are doing businesses on
Kampala, even street businesses, because at least even when government highlighted there is no street vending, but they're outcasts of the city, so you're going to be good to go to display
even for the markets.
Very. And you will realize today forecast in Entebbe areas and Wachiso in the morning, like this time, and afternoon are going to be relatively the same, where we will be at least experiencing a very normal weather without any rain. So we expect a sunny one, especially in the afternoon. It will be around 26 degrees Celsius, and in the evening it will drop to 25 degrees Celsius, and in the overnight it will be around 23. So you will realize also there is going to be at least a normal temperature and weather regarding areas in Entebbe and Wachiso.
So that means I'll head back home with no expectations of any rain or carrying any sweater whatsoever. So let's look at weather still in Entebbe. When it comes to the humidity, will be at 84%. As the wind direction will be moving at 6 kilometers per hour, and the dew point will be at 19 degrees Celsius. And looking at the moon, they will also be experiencing a new moon phase. I pretty much think the whole country will be experiencing a new moon phase with what is actually happening here. And the visibility here will be in the people in Wakiso and Entebbe, 14.48 kilometers per hour. And moving on to today's forecast for Busia and Kenya. So for all those at the border, the morning, I think it's going to be sunny. It has already been sunny for some, and businesses over there will definitely have to experience this till the afternoon, when the sunshine will at least be lighter than it was initially in the morning, with temperatures rising from 26 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius in the afternoon before dropping to 22 degrees Celsius in the evening. And overnight it will be at 20 degrees Celsius with that particular one for Busia, the neighboring districts, and the border, as well as those in Kenya. And away from that, let's now have a look at the humidity of Busia, 75%. Then the wind direction will be moving quite at a speed away from that of Entebbe and Kampala. This one will be moving at quite a high speed of 14 kilometers per hour, a new moon phase, and then looking at the visibility will be at around 14.48 kilometers. Humidity 75%, and the dew point will be 16 degrees Celsius. That is for Busia and Kenya, as well as Busia, as well as the neighboring districts in Busia. Now let's have a look at the other regions in regards to the weather updates for some of you who are there doing businesses to see that you continuously move on.
Very, you can definitely share with us your weather. But when we look at Kabale and Mbarara this morning, it is still at 22 degrees Celsius. And in the afternoon, the temperatures will rise around to 26 degrees, where they'll be expecting at least a bit sunny and
sunlight, rain.
Yes, temperatures around there. And in the evening, it will be moderately. It will have dropped to 20 degrees Celsius there, and you will realize in the overnight it will cross up to 18. It will drop around there, and there is also an expected maybe rainy temperatures or rainy I can say situations around there, because you will realize at 32% it will be a decrease of the temperatures there, which means, and it will also be reflected from Kabale being one of the regions that is very cold and anticipating a lot of cold weathers, and Mbarara as a region as well. So it is not going to be dodged anywhere further. And looking at the humidity, 19 degrees Celsius will be around, highlighting that a high or low one at 27%, and you will realize the wind will be flowing or moving at a 5 km/h, while the humidity around there will still stand at 86%. And when you look at the visibility of it, it will be standing at 14.48 kilometers, and the moon phase there will not definitely be different from the one of that rainy temperatures around there.
And now let's move in as we try to update you with what is happening with the weather forecast. Now, for those that are catching us live on our YouTube, that is coming in from London, England, and the United Kingdom. So for those that are actually having businesses in the United Kingdom, this is as far as the weather is going to move. We are 3 hours ahead of them. But when you look at the morning time, they will actually experience some light rains with 7 degrees Celsius in the morning. Which is covering up over 78% of that. And then in the afternoon, it may still rain in London with 8 degrees Celsius. Then in the evening, it seems it will remain the same, 7 degrees Celsius, and cloudy weather. And then late in the overnight with 6 degrees Celsius. So you can look at the temperatures of the United Kingdom quite low. Now let's look at the weather in London still. When you look at the humidity, 95%. Then the pressure will be at around 1,222. Then the wind direction will be moving at 8 km/h. With the moon phase, they will also experience a new moon phase with a visibility of 4.35 kilometers.
And still moving on towards our weather, you can always share with us your feedback on towards our accreditation here in regards to that. And that is what we had for the weather today. But
we have one for Dubai,
United
Arab Emirates. As morning, they will experience 22 degrees Celsius, light sunshine. Afternoon, it's going to be a sunny day for the residents of Dubai and the United Arab Emirates with a 24 degrees Celsius. Evening, it won't be there won't be any cloudy, or it will just be a normal day of normal temperatures with 22 degrees Celsius. Then overnight, some clouds will be experienced with a 19 degrees Celsius. That is for the weather forecast for the residents of Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. And looking at the visibility, 9.66 kilometers, humidity at 74%, wind direction will be moving 11 km/h with the dew point at 16 degrees Celsius. And there will be a new moon phase for the residents of Dubai and the residents of the United Arab Emirates in general. Well, with that particular one, that is all we've had for you in today's weather forecast here on Smart Means Business. And we are now continuing with more of the press review to look at some of the stories that have making headlines across the papers and across different angles.
And speaking of that, what is the future for the cities around this country that were initially or implemented on by the president following the president's directive and also approvals of parliament? You will realize now there is a lot of developments that have risen from cities, including Jinja, Mbarara, including Fort Portal, and among others, really, Mbale. But what are some of the opportunities that are now coming? Number one, the highlights, according to News here, it's highlighting around landlords, because the real estate growth around these cities is at least increasingly or improvingly seen a positive change, and also in regards to I can say adoption and accommodation. So what I'm trying to mean here is that people who are landlords around the cities are now reaping greatly more, so the fact that is they are now putting at least standard and quality maybe structures, and this one at a point is coming on with an increase in prices in regards to settlement. If you want to live, for example, in Fort Portal area, if you realize that before it was a city, some accommodation prices, even hospitality bills, could be moderately or a bit, you know, even less fair. Because sometimes you realize that you will say, this you will realize that you're giving in a service or you're paying for a service, but the money you're giving in, you feel that you're cheating the owner. So that in that case is now done. So with the invasion of cities, you're realizing that people are now making good money because they have increased the prices in accommodation, they have increased hospitality bills. So what else? There is now parking fees, which was not there, because in the city you've got to pay for parking. You have got to pay for how you, it's not now just a public, you know, entity coming on and enjoying free maybe standovers, but you have got now to pay. So you will find that there is a lot of money or income generating activities that are now arising from that. Jeremy, if you could share what you think, or what is your reaction towards business growth around the cities that were earlier on or currently or previously highlighted on?
Well, when you look at the city growth also takes us to the real estate developers in most of the cities. People have decided, as others actually looking for more cheaper opportunities away from the city, it is actually becoming more expensive in those areas. Now, when you're looking for, let's say, those who are looking for apartments, and why business is now again booming in the city is because now many people are back to the city, and now the options are you need to get close to your business center. So you'll, those who are living far from the city are looking for houses in here. So the real estate sector is also making some money. Those who are actually dealing in apartments, rentals, they've started getting their clients on board. And when you look at the issue of real estate, it is a business that you cannot undermine once people start booking these houses. Now with the new trend is that you either pay 3 months or 4 months, depending on a client. There are others actually who ask for half a year. So to actually be on a safer side. So
it depends on the business actually. And so, speaking of real estate, we've got people buying plots of land. You realize that before some areas like Fort Portal, Mbarara, and Mbale were made, you know, cities, you find a plot that was at around 20 million, just the outcast of the town or outcuts of the town. You now find it at 30 million or even doubling. So, and you find the demand is there really, because his city is coming along with opportunities, because what is in the city city structures or city boards, even how these districts now are gaining funds from government. It's not that for example, Kampala here is not allocated the same funds as, for example, Chegegwa district, because Chegegwa is just a mere district. And you realize if Chegegwa turns out to be a city at some point, you will realize that it's going to be equating to other, you know, cities of Mbarara and so can you stop?
Well,
we are driving business.
You know, when you mentioned about that, when you look at what is happening in Western Uganda, I think business in most of the rural areas has also boomed. in one way or the other. Why? Because most of the people in the city believe there is plenty of market there. For the traders who bring, why the traders come to the city, maybe he gets something at 5,000 and he's expecting to sell it at 20,000 because he knows the other people have limited access to the city to get these goods at
Do you
cheaper.
know why? Because the number of people who are now residing around those areas or the urban areas now have increased. So that means the demand of producers from from the rural areas are going to come with an increase. That means people will be demanding more of the input or taking in or consumption. And what will happen if the rural areas around those particular districts which turned out to be cities, just relax and do not produce? That means they're going to compete, or they have to compete with other far places, and that's not going to be good. So that is why areas, for example, which you're in Buikwe district, close to Mbale, right? Close to Mbale. Mbale is now a city.
Buikwe, you're weighing my home village.
Okay, yes.
Buikwe.
Because Buikwe is not
just
Buikwe district. Is it a district?
It's not a district.
Okay, Buikwe district is not a city.
You're heading to, it's not a city.
Okay, then Jinja City, because there is Jinja City. So, for example, Buikwe being close to Jinja City, areas near Jinja rural areas, if they do not utilize the chance of producing for that consumption for the Jinja town, people in Buikwe, the far place just close to Jinja are going to tap into such opportunities, because if consumption is at a high rate and then production is very low, that means areas far a bit will again tap into that opportunity. So always make sure you get into allies with other people, because there is seasonal production. For example, watermelon. Maybe the time watermelon is growing in a place in Jinja is going to be different from when watermelon grows in some areas of Fort Portal, even when it's the same season. But because of the Shumidi areas, because of the temperatures, so if you have connection and allies in how you trade, you will realize you're going to beat up markets always. You will have to sell always. Yeah, that's what I have to say towards the developments of the city, how they are making lives better and improving sustainable livelihoods among the citizens.
Well, and then number of the urban setting, when you look at that, many businessmen and the business community, the trader community is using this opportunity to make sure they make that money. Because as a matter of fact, Ugandans are now adopting to the new normal of getting back to a situation where 2 years down the road of the lockdown now, many are still adopting to a situation where they're not supposed to leave quite early. There was a tweet I saw somewhere where a Ugandan said there's something that seems illegal about leaving work late early. Something illegal about leaving work late. That people are still scared of leaving at around, even when there is no more curfew. People are still living in that mode of curfew. So the business community is trying to adopt and trying to pull the citizens to get used to the other time whereby you can close the shop at around 8
even
or
midnight.
9 p.m. Yes, exactly, like the Kampala suburbs are doing.
We'll get there. I do believe we will get there, because it's never easy to just leave a trauma or leave just with the trauma. It takes time a bit.
Right.
I remember just before we head into the break, just let me share my experience. So I used to work in the night. So I went home, one day I went home very late. I happened to take maybe the Uber, but this guy was untrustworthy. Sometimes you trust someone and they break your trust. So we happened to involve in a fight there. It was very late in the night. So I live with that trauma for getting home a bit late, especially very late. So you will realize you're going to live with that even when time has passed. But you will always be in fear. What if it comes back? What if something like that happens? And you see people just sitting and someone is just shaking their body. They're getting scared. Something could have happened. So, and at least government is trying to fight, to support children or learners in school who have been traumatized, especially in this COVID-19 era, because at least students were at home, were being beaten, if not some were being harassed. So I appreciate government programs, and I'm getting feedback from those going to school.
Oh.
Yeah, the ministry is at least pushing in people in school to talk to students and learners. That program will be helpful, very helpful. Thank you.
And with that, after the break, we discuss women empowerment in business. It is a month of celebrating women. And furthermore, Rita Kabanyero will also be taking
We
us
used to
through,
sing a song, I remember in my
the
primary.
dress. That outfit looks good. So you will also have to inspire.
Go to Hafi.
You will have to inspire a number of women this very month.
I'm telling you, we used to sing on 8th March, Women's Day.
Women's Day. And next week will be a coverage coming to you live here on Smart 24 TV celebrating women. But this is a month of celebrating women. We take a break. After that, discussion regarding women empowerment.